Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bill. In today's video, we are going to continue the War Magic series, where we're looking at spells when applied to traditional medieval warfare. How would they change a battle? Would they break the morale? And so on and so forth. When you're dealing with the non-heroic characters in a war, all your basic trained soldiers and your militia and whatnot, you're looking at characters of usually levels 1 to 5. So you're not looking at needing to deal a ton of damage. And certain spells, when utilized in certain ways, could break the morale of the party. But anyways, we're looking at divine spells in the Ultimate Combat book today. This is a continuation of the previous one. Then the previous one we looked at levels 1 through 2. We're going to look through 3 through 6 and finish up this book today. Any spells beyond 6th level would guarantee a lot of control over a battlefield. So, without further ado, let's dive into the cleric's list of spells starting at 3rd level, going all the way to 6th. After I finish that, I will then look at the druid's list of spells starting at 3rd level going to 6th. When I'm on the druid list, I'll be reading them all out loud, but I won't be diving as deep into them unless they were not on the cleric's list. And then if I see any spells that I don't understand or that sound really cool but don't make a lot of sense on how it would operate because of just the brief description, we will look it up and read it out loud. So let's dive into the cleric list starting at 3rd level spells. Chain of Perdition creates a floating chain of force. Well, that can be useful. Let's look that one up. If it's a single target, it won't be as useful as I'm thinking. 10-foot chain. Only lasts a round per level, so this could give you an advantage. It just creates a weapon of force for you. So overall, it's not going to be great, but if you have characters that specialize in using this and you give them, say, a one-use token that they can create this, they don't need to carry around a heavy chain. Daybreak Arrow. Targeted ammunition exudes radiant energy. That's great for undead. If you would pre-make a few of them as one-use arrows, that would be even better. Deadly Juggernaut. Your might increases with every kill you make. Let's look that one up to see what the limits are on it. Lasts 1 minute per level. For every life you take, you become more difficult to stop and more dangerous. You get a +1 luck bonus on melee attack rolls, melee weapon damage rolls, strength checks, and strength-based skill checks, as well as DR2 to nothing each time you reduce a qualifying opponent to 0 or fewer hit points. Maximum bonuses are +5 and DR10 with a melee attack. A qualifying opponent has a number of hit dice equal to or greater than your hit dice -4. So they have to be level 1. They have to have 1 hit dice when you're level 4, is more or less what it is to qualify. So if you give this to your regular military, maybe it's all engraved on their shields and they can activate it at the beginning of combat. For every opponent they take down, they get an increasing in melee, they get damage reduction. That can be very useful if you could apply that to even just like a handful of members of your military that's up in the front lines. stack that with like a temporary item that gives them True Strike for one attack, then now they have that and True Strike, so they're guaranteed to hit their first attack. And if they're lucky enough damage-wise, they can drop their first opponent, which would speed up the process of this. So that one could be very useful. Also, I see giving that one on like your big damage dealers. Say you have an ogre in the group that you know is going to wade into them, cast it on that ogre. So communal delay poison. That can be useful if you know you're going to get exposed to poisons, or even as a backup. Discovery Torch. A touched object emanates bright light, granting perception and sense motive bonus. If you're interrogating someone, that could be useful. But as a military, not great. Now the perception bonus might be useful. Communal resist energy. That'll be useful. You could get a, say you have a stone for the one-use activation, you can then touch all the nearest people around you and give them resist energy for a short period of time. Say the enemy's throwing fire or flasks of acid at you. Well, now you can have protection against that element, even on a minor scale, to help you resist being routed real easily in that area, or destroyed in that area. Communal returning weapon. Allows you to create a returning weapon out of a mundane weapon. This one just allows you to divide the duration amongst the weapons touched, which could be very useful. You do that to a bunch of spears or javelins, and then you throw them at the enemy, and now you have them again. Communal share language. That could be useful if you're talking or negotiating. Now we're looking at the 4th level cleric spells. Debilitating Portent. That can be useful against their big damage dealers. So say the enemy has an ogre or a big creature that's going to be dealing out the damage. If you can cast that on it or hit it with, say, an arrow that has that on it, it halves the damage that that creature can do or cast. Communal protection from energy. That can be useful for your group. Summoner Conduit. The target takes damage whenever the summoned creature does. That can be useful, especially if you can cast that on an enemy and summon your creature. Because then if the enemy's fighting it and they're hitting the creature, and they can take the hit as well. Let's see. Summoner Conduit. Let's make sure you can use it on an enemy. Close range. Lasts 1 minute per level. You exploit the invisible mystic connection between the target creature and its summoner to harm the summoner. Whenever the target summoned creature is target of the spell that deals damage, the target summoner is also considered to be the target of the spell. Such a summoner has his normal defenses against the spell, such as a saving throw and spell resistance, and cannot be affected if he is on another plane of existence. So, the way I was thinking it could be used is not the way it is used, but here's how it works. You see a summoned creature on the battlefield, you can cast this on that summoned creature, then all the damage you do to the summoned creature, half of it is transferred to the summoner. So, it's a good way to deal damage to the person that brought forth the planar creature. Communal Water Walk. Good way to get a big portion of your force across water. 5th level spells. Communal Airwalk. Like Communal Water Walk, useful, except for the fact that Airwalk allows you to literally avoid any obstacle as long as you can walk in the air. And that would be a great way to enter an enemy's stronghold too. Besides the flying way, you could have literally your forces walk in from the sky onto their base and start taking it over, fighting on the ramparts, so on and so forth. Also a good way to get your strike force in there. Just create a few one-use magical items for your actual army, and when they use them, they just divide the duration between everybody, and they go for it. Greater Magic Siege Engine. Well, that gives you a magic bonus on your siege engine. That is as useful as a siege engine is, so it's useful. Communal Spell Immunity. If you had that, and you know the enemy's forces is going to be using magic, and you can give this to sections of your army, even if it only lasted for, say, an hour. If they touch their shield and activates and it lasts an hour, hell, they're immune to magic for an hour. That would be a big game changer when magic's being thrown around the battlefield. Symbol of Striking. Communal Tongues. So Symbol of Striking is an area effect. It's more of a trap thing. If you can get your enemies to funnel into it, it'll be very useful. The Communal Tongues is only useful when you're trying to talk with everybody. So as far as a military use, on the battlefield, there's not much use for it. Outside of the battlefield, like negotiations and stuff, that could be useful. 6th level Cleric spells. Dust Form. You become an incorporeal creature of dust for a short period of time. That can be pretty useful. That'd be more useful to move in a strike force into an enemy stronghold. Give them a few one-use items, and then once they're in, they're in. So now we're looking at the Druid spells. So 3rd level, Greater Animal Aspect as Animal Aspect, but you gain 2 animal qualities. That'd be okay. I could see that being very useful when you're hunting down another army, or you're trying to find other ways to cut off the army and isolate them. Companion Mind Link. You can talk with your animal companion and can handle it with supernatural ease. I don't think that'd be that good. Communal Delay Poison. That could be good because that could keep them up for a while. Pup Shape transforms a single animal or magical beast into a younger and cuter version of itself for a short time. You have a raging boar on the battlefield, a bear trying to maul them, or any magical beast. That could be very useful because that could really nullify how effective the creature is. Resinous Skin. You gain DR5 to piercing and +4 versus disarm attempts. Since most spears do piercing, I wouldn't consider that to be that useful for the military. Not saying it can't be useful, just saying I don't visualize it being useful. Because even the arrows do piercing. Communal Resist Energy, just as useful as it was for the clerics. Communal Share Language, just as useful. Communal Spider Climb. Now you can move your forces up a wall. They could literally walk up a wall. That would be useful. Everyone, touch this spider medallion that activate it, disintegrates. Now you'll have spider climb for 5 minutes. All you do is just go up the wall, and now you're in the enemy stronghold. Fourth level Druid spells. Absorb toxicity. You become immune to disease and toxins. Absorb one and then spread it to others. So that allows you to be the transmuter of it without taking any of the penalties from it. That could be very useful if you can make your way into an enemy stronghold the way a druid can with animal shape. You could take a contagion with you and then spread it around the enemy forces, and then either they suffer while that you've laid siege to them, or they suffer right before the actual battle breaks out. Obsidian Flow converts the surface of the ground into molten glass. If it's dealing damage and slippery as glass, I'm pretty sure they're going to have a hard time fighting in that area. So let's see how big of an area effect that is. So Obsidian Flow. The range for the spell's close. The area is a 20-foot radius. So it's a 40-foot area. So put that on some arrowheads, put that on a sling bullet as a one-use item. Contact activates. 20-foot radius area. It does 1d6 fire damage per 2 caster levels. So by the time you can cast it, you're almost 8th level. So I would say it would do about 4 dice at least. Reflex for half. And if you fall in the area and it's now slippery and sharp, you take a d6 points of damage from just the sharp rocks. So that could be very useful, especially if you're rolling even 3 dice for the initial Obsidian Flow showing up. 3d6 averaging 3 would average 9 total, and your basic soldier would have a d8 hit dice, assuming they have no con bonus and no con penalty. They'd have 4 hit points on average. So that would destroy an enemy's military quite fast. Communal protection from energy. 5th level communal airwalk. 6th level dust form. Communal stone skin. Stone skin would be useful to give amongst your military. Tar pool. Now that could be very useful. .20-foot radius, so not, again, 40-foot area. Reflex partial, lasts 1 round per level, so by the time you're casting that, it's going to last a minute. You convert a layer of ground to hot tar. Creatures in the area when the tar appears take 1d6 points of fire damage per 2 caster levels. Maximum 10 dice. And must succeed a reflex save or become entangled. It costs 2 squares of movement to enter a square in the area of effect, and it's considered difficult terrain. Creature that moves into or starts its turn in the area takes 2d6 points of fire damage and must attempt a reflex save or become entangled. A creature that falls prone in the area takes a -4 penalty on reflex saves against the tar and on strength and escape arts check to escape the tar. A creature that escapes the tar still takes fire damage from the tar until the spell ends, or that creature spends a full round action removing the tar. A creature with tar on it takes a -4 penalty to acrobatics, fly checks made to fly with wings or similar appendages. So, the tar pool, if if you could put that on some ammunition or something they could throw, give them like a stone or a flask that they could chuck that just is imbued with tar pool spell. Upon breaking, does that effect? If they take any of the tar damage at the beginning, you're not looking at that section of that military force staying in the combat very long. Give it a couple of rounds of that fire damage and they're gone. And now you have this tar pool too that they have to maneuver around for the duration that it's there. That would be very, very useful. Well, that is all the divine spells out of the ultimate combat for war magic spells. We will enter a different book for the next continuation of this series. Well, until we all game again, guys.